stand, you know, and this is my own personal view, is that I think that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu should be bold enough to take out these things in court, you know, but apparently he's not, you know, and with the senators now meeting the Attorney General, well, you know, I think we should see the way it goes. But, you know, you would have expected somebody with a kind of courage and the boldness of Nnamdi Kanu. You would have expected him to say that, look, let's prove these things in court. You know, let's go and, you know, whether indeed broken the law. But I'm surprised that he's trying to get a political solution. I would have expected him, you know, based on what we know about him, to say that, look, let's go to court. But he wants a political solution, and I'm told that he has even committed to any kind of conditions. You know, I'm surprised by that.
Well, you know, but what is troubling is the implications. The argument of the senators is, look, if you release him, we guarantee more safety in the southeast. Is this something tenable to you?
It's yet to be proven. You know, because he has said that he has stopped the activism, you know, but the crisis, the breakdown of law and order in parts of Southeast persists. There's another guy by the name of Simon Ekpa, you know, who has actually said that, look, Kanu is out of the picture. Now I'm in charge, and he is continuing. So I don't see, I haven't seen the correlation of, you know, of the fact of getting him released, how that one will lead to the peace in the Southeast. Because right now, he's saying, hey, stop all this violence, you know, but they are not stopping.
I mean, I want to be able to talk a little bit about what Senator Nnamdi Kanu said in that piece.
Right.
Two things. He said this cannot, those were his words. He said this issue cannot be resolved legally. And he now talked about, he said there were legitimate demands that are being hijacked by criminal elements. These three things that he has said cannot be resolved legally. Legitimate demands and criminals hijacking that. These are very important statements that he's making. What legitimate demands? It brings to my mind the conversation between the need for self-determination and what he's been accused of, which is treason. Do you have any views on this?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, Senator Abaribe is a Nigerian senator that we all must dove our hearts to. He's bold, he's courageous, and he has the audacity to speak truth to power several times, and I admire that. But for him to say that these issues cannot be proven in court, I think that's exactly what I think can be done. And I think, you know, Nnamdi Kanu should go and post a solid defense. You know, a court process is meant to be fair, it's meant to be open, it's meant to be transparent. You know, and that's why I said that I'm shocked that Nnamdi Kanu, the Nnamdi Kanu that we know, I'm shocked that he wants to get a easy pass. I think there's no such thing that it cannot be proven in court, or it cannot be sorted out in court. It can be sorted out in court, and that's the position of the Attorney General, you know. But now I see that they are having talks with him. The Attorney General said that, look, let's do this thing in court.
This concept of legitimate demands.
Well, it wasn't specific in that clip as to what is legitimate demand, but I guess, you know, every section of this country has some kind of claims about discrimination. Look, I mean, certain political elites in the north have started saying that, oh, President Tinubu is discriminating against us. You know, so everybody will always have those legitimate demands about, quote-unquote, legitimate demands about this country. This country is a potpourri of several cultures and peoples and ethnicity and languages. So you will always have those contentions. And that is why it behoves on all of us to see how is it that we can really mold this country and form it into a nation. It's an ongoing process. But to say that that is the reason why, you know, somebody who is believed has broken the law severally, that is why he shouldn't face his day in court. You know, I mean, I'm surprised. You know, the man should get his day in court and make his arguments in court.
How about that third issue of some people hijacking the process and taking it?
Criminal elements hijacking in the legitimate demands that were made.
Well, it's just like any other. So when people want to protest, there are always the peaceful element that, look, we have a voice. We're not satisfied with what government is doing, so we want to exercise our right to protest. But it's true that oftentimes there are also hooligans that are lurking around the corner to make nonsense and to cause violence. So yeah, I imagine that there will be legitimate issues, but when you cross the line and break the law over and over and over and over again, like Nnamdi Kanu has been alleged to, I expect him to be bold enough to face the judicial process.
Let me take you back to the first issue that Kayla raised about the judicial process. The fact that so on the one hand there is that legitimate position, for using the word, of the federal government. Look, this guy has been accused of treason because of some things that he said and, riling people up and all of that on the one hand.
Right.
On the other hand, is the consequence of his incarceration, the consequence of, putting him in the dungeons for so long. It is as a result of that some people from the same extraction as him are saying, look, if you don't free this guy, we will ensure that there is no peace in this environment. So perhaps that is the angle that some people are speaking from. You may be right to hold him because of the accusations that are being leveled against him, but then holding him down is also part of the reason for this and this and this.
I agree, and that's the reason why one will expect the judicial process to be quickened and fast forwarded and expedited, and then government can consider pardon if he is found guilty, and if he's not found guilty, he goes home. I don't think that it is a good idea for us to truncate the judicial process. Guarantee that the judicial process will be fair, free, transparent. If that is guaranteed and even expedited, I think it should go ahead, and the government, in the exercise of its political discretion, the president who does have the power to pardon, can then, if he's found guilty, can then say that, we're going to give you a pardon, for the purposes of political correctness.
I mean, we have quite a number of other things to talk about, but I want you to be able to talk about the guarantees. If they say in the Southeast right now, the criminalization of everything, and then the inability of governors in the Southeast to rein in these people. We're hearing about military action and things like that going on, but the guarantee that there will now be a change in the way things are done. You mentioned rightfully, Mr. Simon Ekpa, earlier. What kind of guarantees can they give the lawmakers, everyone who's asking for? And just to note that in The Guardian today, former President Olusegun Obasanjo just says this release was not part of what I discussed with them. Which says that a lot of people are very concerned about this situation. What kind of guarantees can they give with the inability to rein in these criminal elements that have turned the Southeast into some sort of war zone?
Yeah, and I think it's something that is quite, a big burden, especially on the political elites in the Southeast. Those of them that are currently in government, those that are not, and the entire elite of the Southeast. It's the same way that I feel about whenever any part of the country there's a problem, the people, the leadership of those sections have a responsibility to sort it out themselves. We haven't had the peace, that you would have expected. If indeed, Nnamdi Kanu were still to be calling the shots, and then he has said, stop it, and this thing hasn't stopped. So I don't really, it doesn't make a lot of sense, except there are other variables that we don't know about, and so we're not sure. But it builds on especially the governors in the Southeast working with the federal government, who has the responsibility for national security, to sort out whatever it is in the Southeast, do whatever it is to bring peace to that part of the country.
Well, very interesting that, we're talking about this, and of course, that issue that Kayla raised, that's right there on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And, that leads me to the issue of the influence of the governors. If they have been unable to influence their people, so to speak, to the point that they can drop their arms. Again, as Kayla asked, what's the guarantee that they'll be able to rein him in or any of his cronies
or splinters or people who may want to take advantage of the situation?
When the governors cannot ensure the peace in the environment right now.
Regarding information that is open and available in the public, we find no assurance at all.
Talking about governors are also expected to throw their weight behind the autonomy of local government administrations. Now, I think it was Governor of Interior who came out and said, let me make it a bold statement that I am in support of local government autonomy. That's 1 down, 35 to go. So, like that. So, what do you see that happening? Well, given the influence that they purportedly enjoy from, their authority over the local government administrations? Well,
so there are those who argue that, look, we are practicing a federal system, and there are two, main parts to that, So there is the federating units, and then there is the federal government. So local government ought to be in that, ideological construct to be the business of the federating units, the states. So the federal government normally shouldn't have any problem. A state government can say, look, I'm going to have 10 local governments. This is how I'm going to run my local government. Another state can say, I will have 5. This is how I run it. Now, that is what federalism is all about. The problem is, it turns out that for the most part, the governors have turned the local government to nothing. For the most part, there are those who are doing a good job, and we must always say that. But when you have a situation where, we all are witnesses to the outright destruction of the local governments on account, for the most part, of the governors, mismanaging their funds. So we have no option than to say that, look, how do we get rid of this problem? It is essentially, for me, a corruption problem, a misappropriation problem. So while it is true that, yes, under a federal system, you have the federal government, you have the federal units, and, whatever happens next in local government ought to be the business of the state government. But, well, look, that should continue. But to the extent that state government, in certain instances, not all, have turned the local government into complete nothing, we must say that, look, the autonomy in terms of how they spend their money, how they collect their money. Even the Constitution says currently that the monies are meant to go. The federal allocation of local government is meant to go to a joint account. So why is it a joint account? The federal government sends money to that account, and the state government sends money to that account, and then each local government runs on that. But we know that itself has been sabotaged and been frustrated, has been made nothing, and so we must address the question of local government autonomy, at least financial autonomy, to be able to spend their own money the way they choose to, hopefully to develop their local governments.
Let's take a look now at another issue that is making the rounds in the news, and it is this discussion around Minister Wike and Senator Ireti Kingibe. Both people have to work together. For many people, they have to work together to move the FCT forward. But we're seeing she has complained several times.
Right.
Several times, including Channels TV, twice on Channels TV, where she said, I'm not able to reach him and I'm unable to talk to him. We saw her recently on another medium saying, this is just not happening and it's affecting the ability to properly govern this place. He may be building roads, in her view, he may be building roads and whatnot, but there are actual needs of the people, and as senator, I should be able to provide that. Then we're having Minister Wike on one side saying, I'm not trying to be friends with you. We already have friends that we can't even carry along. Let's talk of friends who don't want to be our friends. And of course, making that statement about 2027, that has had many people worried about the election process. What are you trying to say here, Minister Wike? Talk to us about this impasse and what you think should be the way forward.
Okay, I think that the first thing that I would like to say is to address the continued public displays and public issues that Mr. Nyesom Wike has been turning up. It's important that somebody counsel him and advise him. Look, if you look at the political dimensions, the political dispensation today, after the president, some will argue that Wike will be the most influential politician, the most clearly out there, which is not, it's not a small thing, in political calculation. But his behavior is becoming unbecoming. First of all, he goes on social media and wears this winter jacket, and he's dancing like a clown, and you have this engagement of his, this broad with his own governor. Somebody should tell him that, look at the projection, the trajectory of President Tinubu, who you are serving and who is clearly the #1 politician in the country. Did you ever find him behave in such a way that you are behaving publicly? Even when Tinubu had problem with Fashola, did you ever hear the matter on TV? Did you ever see any time either of them come out in the open and start to do all this kind of display? It's important that somebody speaks some sense to Mr. Nyesom Wike.
Some people might argue that this is just a difference of personality. It's who he is, it's how his nature is. And for that jacket, I will have you know that it's been cold in the FCT since Saturday last week.
Well, look,
and a jacket
there is no
would
way,
be nice.
There is no way that any objective person wouldn't see the clownishness in that. Come on.
Is it against the law?
It's not.
Exactly.
It's not. And my point is that he holds a very enviable position in this country, but he's messing it up. Anyway, let's come back to the issue of him and Ireti Kingibe. No, I think that Senator Ireti Kingibe herself is making this to become such a very big deal. She is the senator. She has the, she's the one that represents the only senator in the FCT. I don't think she needs to have this kind of public, debate or disagreement with the FCT. Ultimately, she has her own responsibility. The minister is the minister. The minister's job is to run the executive arm of government. Our own job is to run the legislative. Now, if the two of them cannot agree, then there's no point making a public case of it. So I would have advised her that, look, you know what, you do your job. If you are known to do your job in the proper and the best way possible, Wike will be the one looking for you. But guess what? Wike is the one that everybody knows, says that, oh, look, this man has fixed the roads. Those roads have been there forever. He came in 1 year and he fixed it. So Wike is the one that has some kind of public acclaim. You are the senator. You haven't communicated with the people. What do you represent? You can't just represent attacking Wike.
Does the lack of synergy, does the lack of synergy between both parties affect her job in any way?
I think so. But I think she has to take responsibility for that, partially. Of course, Wike too, and whose part I've already mentioned, who is also making a mockery of his influence, he also has responsibility. But on this part, I don't think that Senator Ireti Kingibe ought to be making the matter. What does Senator Ireti Kingibe stand for in the eye of the average FCT resident? But they respect Wike because they see him fix the roads. Whatever we say about him, the man is known to getting things done. Senator Kingibe should try and work on our own brand and not worry about a public debate.
Let me take you. I know that we're closing momentarily, but let me quickly ask you this one, something that Kayla drew our attention to earlier on in the program this morning. It's on the front page of the Daily Trust that Nigeria has signed a $150 billion Samoa deal, and those who are connecting it with this LGBT issue. Well, what do you make of it?
Well, you know, I think we have to get more details. I read the story myself this morning. It's not clear. Even the story itself couldn't say clearly what it is that is the problem.
Well, perhaps just because just one whistleblower is just drawing attention to it.
To the signing of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's even reported that the Minister for Budget and National Planning, former Governor Bagudu, has said that actually,
this
you know, there was this kind of,
yes.
So we need to see that deal. You know, it has to be made public. Let us read it and then find out what it is that is happening. Right now, I don't think we know enough to make any assessment.
So any idea what to expect tomorrow on Inside Sources?
Oh, well, tomorrow we're going to have, thank you for that. Tomorrow we are having...
don't worry, you will pay for the promo.
We're having a major discussion on the future of Nigeria's foreign policy and the image of the country. So we have ambassadors gathered and we asked them the question that, okay, is it because we didn't have an ambassador in South Africa? Was that why? Did that have anything to do with the way that our president was treated?
Don't ask all the questions yet.
And then of course, you know, we also discussed the issue of how come it is that we don't have ambassadors in all of our embassies, you know, at least like 8 months since they've been recalled. You know, so these are the things that we discuss tomorrow on Inside Sources. 11:30 a.m. by the way.
Well, as I said, marketing is going to be speaking with you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
Akande is a former aide to the Vice President. And that's the show today. Thank you so much for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a splendid day.
Well, before we go, 2 things. Today is Independence Day in the United States, so happy Independence Day to you all.
4th of July.
Yes, and then in the UK today, the Tories will be facing Labour. So good luck to everyone there. I'm Kayla Magwa. Have a great day ahead.